Hey there, I'm B-Bomb, and I'm working on a 2D physics platformer about an armadillo that has a dream of becoming a gardener. This is the first real devlog after introducing the project, so I want to go over some progress. Last time, I got the main movement mechanic of rolling implemented, which allows Dizzy to boost forwards and turn into an orb, as well as creating some base mechanics and worlds. One of the first things I wanted to do after last time was add a way to visually indicate to the player whether or not they could activate the roll move. I tried a few different ways of this, but ended up settling on having a visual symbol over Dizzy to show when he can roll. I did change this later on, but this was how it looked for now. It's been a long time since the last devlog, and I realized that the first devlog really didn't say much of anything. So much has changed since then, and a lot of progress has been made. One of the biggest changes that has come in these past 4 months is the art. I never really excelled at art, but I still wanted to make a good looking game, and still want to. The prototype art I had made looked decent, but it wasn't at all the style I wanted in the final game. I wanted to give my game a unique visual style, but I also wanted to do it so that I can create great worlds and levels resourcefully. I brainstormed a few different styles and I came up with a few cool ideas. The first idea was the simplest, and I've used it many times before, which was pixel art. This has worked for other games and has looked good in the past, but I'm not sure it's the best style to go with a game with such smooth environments. Another style that I thought might be a better option is a pastel painted style. This would look really good, but I don't think it would be sustainable for development, especially because I'm not skilled at this art style. Eventually, I came up with a style that mixes 2D with 3D in a way that I think looks pretty cool. I really like this style, and I think it fits the game perfectly. This type of art was a cool idea, but at this point, it still wasn't looking as good as I wanted. In order for it to look good, I'd have to get background design in order. This meant I'd need good colors, fun and simple designs, and a look that would differentiate between worlds while still keeping the same visual language. I experimented a lot with these designs, primarily focusing on the ice and bubble worlds for experimentation. There were loads of points where I had doubts, and although it took a long time, after all that work, I had finally created something that I could confidently say looked good. There was, and still is, quite a bit of tweaking to do, but you could say, I was on a roll. I wanted to test the game a bit, so I let a few friends try it out, and they had quite a bit of trouble figuring out the roll mechanic. Because of the way the roll mechanic is activated and held, they ended up just walking around the environment rather than rolling through it. When they did use the roll ability, they would end up holding the movement buttons and wouldn't conserve momentum. As well as this, they found it a bit difficult to aim towards the mouse. There is the option of using a controller, but I want the game to be as good as possible with both playstyles. Due to these discrepancies, I decided to add an arrow that rotates and shows the direction towards the mouse. This conveys the direction that Dizzy will roll, and after seeing it, I thought that it was a good idea to replace the dynamite with the arrow. This way, the arrow will only appear when you're able to roll, which conveys multiple pieces of information in a way that I think is fairly elegant. After making the arrow, I made a few small changes and improvements, adding a bit more polish and slight changes, such as improving the dash effects, creating a slight trail, and adding a spiral spin move when the roll button is pressed without having a roll charged. Now that a confident style was in place for the game, I wanted to experiment with creating some test levels and worlds in order to find out what each world's gameplay would be like. I wanted each world to have its own style and feel while still keeping the same game at heart. Now why don't I get to showing you what each world has to offer. This is the Portobello Plains, a green landscape that has become overrun by bouncy mushrooms. Because of these mushrooms and the nature of it being the first world, the main mechanics of this world are bouncing mushrooms and an introduction to some global mechanics such as dashers and bounce pads. This is the Frost Crystal Caverns, a frozen cavern that is overrun by pink and purple gemstones. These gemstones create mechanics such as fragile ice that resets your dash, and the time crystal platforms that cause you to think quick on your feet. And don't forget the dangerous magic ice shooters. This is the Swamp World, a blue and teal flooded marsh filled to the brim with bubbles. These bubbles give a change of pace for World 3, giving anti-gravity whenever swimming. I really wanted to have a fun underwater world and swimming system, so I hope I succeeded. As well as the water, the swamp has a second main mechanic of air gusts that can give momentum and speed. This is the Fling Factory, an old factory that used to produce things and stuff. There are a lot of old conveyor belts still running, and they can now be used as game mechanics for me. You have to be careful when rolling around the factory though, as you might just hit an explosive orb of doom. There have been so many iterations of different mechanics, ideas, and styles to go along with these worlds before this, and there are sure to be in the future as well. Through these worlds, I want to convey a sense of discovery and provide a change in gameplay and pace. Speaking of gameplay, what type of levels do I want to make? There's a few different gameplay style types that I thought up that would be fun with the movement. My first idea was an open world type thing akin to Super Mario Odyssey, where you have to find seeds in one big world to progress to the next world. After some contemplation, I realized that as a 2D game, the movement might lend itself more to a linear style of level. I thought that maybe a hub world could be a cool way to access these levels and would give some cool connection to the game. After it was all said and done though, I figured the best approach would be a combination of sorts, with each world consisting of 5 main levels and 5 sub-levels. Each main level will contain a secret access point to the sub-levels, which will inspire some exploration, although the main experience will be quite linear. With this linearity, however, there's lots of room to play with shortcuts and pathing for speedrunning as the movement is very open. Each sub-level will be varied and a lot different from the main levels, having many different ideas and cool things packed into them that wouldn't work in a linear platforming level, such as a bullet dodging section or a speedrun section. With these 5 main and sub-levels per world, you'll only have to complete a total of 5 levels in order to progress to the next world, which allows decisions to be made around what levels to complete. This is a system that was inspired by Splatoon 3's story mode, as it gives many choices that could be made in speedruns around what levels to complete and which things would be faster. The whole time I've been making this game, I've been trying my best to make something grand and to make enough progress that would be enough for a devlog to be made. I had so much motivation, but I could never bring myself to make any levels, because I wanted to make everything as good as possible before committing to level design. Looking back, I really regret it. I made a lot of progress, but not nearly as much as I could have if I had gotten your feedback. It's time I move on to level design and create a vertical slice that you can test. I'm done going slow, and it's time to kick development into high gear. Thanks for watching.